Welcome to Just John and April, the relationship podcast, your place for life, love, and laughs. In today's episode, exploring emotional connection and the word of the day. Hey, man.
Hey.
You look very nice right now.
Aw, thanks.
Yeah, I really like your hair done. So today, on the way home, I took care of some business and sold a product, as I usually do. And April and I switched cars, and then she informed me that she has a hair appointment. We're going to a wedding this weekend, doing a wedding, actually.
Mm-hmm.
April's cousin's getting married. Congratulations, Danielle and
Yes.
Wesley. And I guess she wanted to make sure that she looked right for the day, and I am the beneficiary.
I have not pressed my hair in 3 months.
That's been a while.
No, 4, because it's the end of November.
Did
so
she
it's
really
been-
press that, though, or she just blew it out?
No, she just blew it out. But still, I'm saying I didn't straighten or whatever.
Right.
I got a blowout, whatever
Right.
you want to call it. So,
Yeah.
you know.
It's trimmed, too.
Good.
It looks nice. She really did a good job.
Really?
Yeah.
You like it?
Looks good, man.
Yeah.
I love it, actually. And I haven't really got to tell you because we're like, as soon as I got home from board meeting and just came in
I
and
was
let's
like,
record.
Let's do
You know what I'm
this.
saying? So I haven't really got to look at my wife yet. So let me just give you a once over. Yeah. It looks good. I like it a lot.
Thank you.
Some excitement. It's going to be a good weekend. I'm tired though, man.
So, Eric Donwell
Yep.
commented on how, we looked like we were really cold when
Yeah, he
we
did.
did our last recording, one of our recordings. Anyway,
It was cold
and
though.
I have to just say to Eric, it is freezing in this house.
Right.
I had to beg my husband to turn on the heat. He finally turned it on.
I
and
turned
he
it on
just-
a little bit.
Just a little bit. So
Yeah,
that if
yeah.
it gets freezing, it'll
Then
come
it'll
on.
come on. Right. That's
So
what
I will have on my long sleeve. You will see me with, I almost put on a scarf and then I was like, no,
Nah, that's too
Eric's going
much.
to be like, you know what?
Exactly.
That's a little much. So I decided to just wear the long sleeve. But
Yeah.
I do have
her blanket.
my blanket.
As usual.
So I'm like a little old lady with the blanket in the lap.
I don't have anything. I'm wearing short sleeves like a real man.
See what I'm saying? So I can't
northerner.
win here.
Yes, you
And,
can.
I can't.
Well, we win at night
So-
when it's time to go to bed because, we can actually cuddle because
That
it's
is
not too
true.
hot.
That's
You know what I'm saying?
I do like that part.
So,
but I
there
mean,
you
why
go.
can't we just, keep it warm during
And
the
then,
day?
and then sleep on separate sides of the bed. I mean, that's the only alternative. You know what I'm saying?
So let's get to it.
Emotional connectedness. I
Okay.
want to talk about this. You brought something up yesterday that made us want to talk about this. You had a
Yeah.
conversation with Kim, your sister.
Yes.
Tell us what happened and why it is we're talking about this today.
So I'm talking to my sister Kim, and we're just, we're both teachers, so we're always talking about teacher stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like me and Kim and my mom, we can always talk about elementary school teacher stuff because we are all elementary school teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a middle school teacher. My mom was in middle school, but we all have done elementary and middle, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we were just talking, and we were talking about how sometimes we talk to our husbands about our school stuff, our teacher stuff.
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
See what I'm saying? And this is what happens.
What? I'm listening.
They're not listening.
I'm listening.
And she said that sometimes she'll be talking to her husband about her teacher stuff.
Uh-huh.
And he will say, in a part that should not get a And I was like, wow, I've experienced the same thing.
With somebody else, not my husband.
Or like, I will say something. It's so funny because I will say something and John will be like, so the parent said, can I get my paper back? And then the student was like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, babe, that doesn't even make sense. Like, why would
How'd
you
the parent get in the
obviously
story?
were not listening to me. So we decided we're going to talk about this because I think people come home from work
Yes.
and they want to be able to share what's going on at work with their spouse. But your significant other may not want to hear about what's going on at work.
Right.
And they may not ever want to hear about your stories or your complaints or
Right,
whatever.
right,
Because,
right.
I mean, I've been in schools where I've come home and complained every day to my husband.
Right.
And I'm not sure if, how, I never really asked, I don't think we've ever talked about, how was that for you? If
Right.
that was difficult,
Right.
how is it now?
Right.
Do you sometimes wish I didn't? Because I will go on and on. I mean, and then I'll go into why education needs to change or
So
going on in my soapbox.
before I answer that question, I want to finish that thing that you just said by saying that we kind of wonder out loud if this has to do with emotional connectedness. Is the thing that my wife is getting at, is she trying to get me to be emotionally available to her at the end of a day? Is that what this is? And so I'm going to ask you that question a little bit later, but I'll answer your question first, the one that you sort of didn't ask, but kind of did. Mm-hmm. I think there was a point at which you were so fed up with the way work was that it was getting difficult to hear it because everything was a big deal. And so it was hard. And it wasn't that I wanted to not listen. It's just that after a while, especially if I had a long day, it was hard. I would like anticipate, man, I'm sure April had a bad day too, and she's going to be talking about it. It's going to be hard. And it wasn't that I didn't want to be emotionally available, you know? It was just that it was difficult for me to listen to that after going through my own stuff. What I found, though, is you've gotten way better. I don't know if it's just the new environment and the new job. I do think where you are now has some benefits from the way that they run things and the way that they take pressure off of teachers and the way that they seem to value your time. And so I think it makes your bad parts a little bit more bearable because you know at least that you're a professional who is being respected at your job.
Very true.
Yeah, so I think that makes a difference. But I also think that something happened to your attitude. I think something happened to your outlook on what you should be getting from your job and what's going to happen with your kids when you interact with them, that I think it's improved. So actually, I don't have any problem now. I really don't have any issue listening to you ever. My question is, do you feel like this is an emotional connection type conversation? Is this at the end of a day, I need to be able to connect emotionally with you, and the way that I do that is by telling you how my day was and you listening and being attentive and caring about what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, I feel like, if I'm able to come home and share my thoughts,
yes, the
way that I want to share them.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you can't always share maybe with your coworkers what you really want to say. You know what I'm saying? You may not be able to share your true feelings about that parent.
Right.
Yes. Or even about the student, like
right.
how, things are going with them or, and, I just feel like just like any other job, you have coworkers, you have different situations that happen. Mm-hmm. And I feel like home is where I can come to my husband and I can just let out all of that emotional stress or whatever. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's good stuff. Sometimes it's not.
Right.
But I want to be able to share all of that with you and you listen. Right. And I know, wow, he really is interested in my life because your job and what you do is a big part of your life.
Right.
And I think that it makes me feel like you value my job. Okay. And my life. Right. And what I'm interested in. I mean, that's a big part of my life.
Yes.
So, my
and it's something you love too.
Yes.
It's a big love
exactly.
for you. Yeah.
My sister and my mother are people who I can talk to and they'd be like, oh my goodness, yes, I understand. I went through the same thing, or girl, let me tell you what you should do. It's a little different than when I come to you.
Okay, so here's my question. This is what I really want to know. Okay. When you talk to your mother or your sister, they can not just sympathize, they can empathize because they've actually felt what you felt. Right. They know exactly what you're talking about. You don't have to explain yourself. You can start talking about something and they immediately know what you're talking about. True. So what I wonder is, does that fulfill you emotionally in the same way as my listening does? Because when I listen, I don't always know what you're talking about. I sometimes maybe annoy you by asking you to explain what that meant, like what is Common Core or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever teacher lingo you're using at the time. And so in order to get me to understand or to really listen, I have to be interested and I have to know what you're talking about. And so it takes a little bit more time. Does my thick-headedness on the subject actually take away from the emotional connection? How does it compare with your sister and your mother?
Not for me. Like, I feel like when you ask me, what is Common Core? What do you mean by rigor or whatever?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
You hate the word rigor.
I do hate the word rigor. Okay.
Anyway,
those buzzwords kind of annoy me. But anyway, I feel like when you ask me those questions, it's like, man, okay, he's interested. He really wants to know what I do.
Okay.
He wants to know, he wants to get a better understanding at what I'm saying, So I like that.
Yeah.
And I think, and now I've had times where you ask me questions and I just answered it.
So it means I didn't listen.
That's when I'm annoyed. When
okay.
You're asking me questions that I just answered. You're asking me stuff about the situation. Obviously you are not following.
Right.
I think that's worse. But
so how's it compared to when you talk to Mama and Kim?
When I talk to my mother and Kim, it's like we're going back and forth like, it's not me sharing something that you don't do, and then you responding with you're not on your phone, you're looking at me, you're asking me questions because you want to keep the conversation going. You see what I'm saying? So now I'm getting from my husband.
It's a little bit more fulfilling then, because I don't understand it. I'm seeking to understand it, and so it's like I'm really listening in order to get to know you better.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
And then that means you value my profession.
Right.
And me, because
right.
I feel like it's a part of me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
So it's different. It's different kind of emotional.
That's interesting because, so
whatever I'm trying to say.
Yeah, emotional connection, emotional availability.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is a difference between guys and girls thing, difference between men and women thing. But for me, it's a little bit different. Like, I do want you to care about, so here's what's the same. I definitely like it when you care about what it is I want to tell you that has nothing to do with you. So when it's something to do with my profession, I do like that. Mm-hmm. But probably profession is less of a thing for me. My thing is, I really want you to care about like my hobbies. So I don't know why, but somehow with my profession, it doesn't do me like that. But I do want emotional connection with you when it comes to my hobbies, specifically like computers or gadgets. If the new iPhone comes out and there's a comparison, there's a big jump between the last one and this one, and I see a YouTube video on it and I want to explain it to you, for some reason I feel validated when you really are interested in that. And I don't know why. Teslas, road bikes now. Mm-hmm. I don't know why, and I'm actually ashamed to say this, but for some reason I am like disproportionately sensitive about you not listening to my hobbies, and I don't know why.
Do I not listen to your hobbies?
No, I'm just saying
No?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Sorry. I meant, no, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. You do listen to my hobbies, but sometimes you don't. Like,
Yeah.
So just the same thing you're saying about me, where sometimes you're not listening because you're doing something else or whatever. You do that to me too sometimes when it comes. And I don't really care that much when it comes to my job for whatever reason. But I really care when it comes to my hobbies. And I don't know why. I wish I could explain it to you. But if you tune me out because you're getting lost in the minutia of, gigabits and gigabytes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For some reason, I am way more sensitive about that. And I don't know why.
Well, I will say that sometimes I do have to ask questions because I don't understand what you're talking about sometimes.
Yes. And I don't mind answering those. I actually like to answer them. Yeah.
And just like with me, you like to answer them.
Yes.
And I also have come to realize that listening to you has made me so much more.
That is true. You're way more knowledgeable.
And I'm helping other people. I mean, I've always been able to figure things out on the computer, but I can now do more than
you're right.
The regular Joe, because I listen.
Yes.
So,
but I guess the point is, I need emotional connection and availability from you as well, but it doesn't show up at the same time. So, for some reason, I guess because I'm a pastor, there are times when I don't actually want to share certain things with April. Mm-hmm. I want to shield her from things that are happening at church and with members and things like that.
I get that.
And oftentimes it's because as the first lady, I want her to be able to love people and hobnob with them and rub shoulders with them and not feel like she has to be burdened with what happened at a meeting or something like that. Because, people do and say things that aren't personal. But if I tell her, she might get defensive about her husband and stuff. So I actually am in a habit of not telling her a lot of things that are related to my job. And I have a person that I talk to, really two people, my really good friends, Bron and Melvin, who they're pastors too. They understand immediately, all that kind of stuff, which is why I asked you the question the way that I did. Because for me, I actually, whatever fulfillment I need from unloading about my job, I can get that with my pastor friends. Mm-hmm. But I need something different for some reason with my hobbies. And I don't know why that is. But I guess that's my area where I need your emotional availability and emotional connection.
Well, I think that, this is the first time that we really talked about this in
Ever
our
in
relationship.
life.
And who would sit down and think that this is something you need to communicate?
That's true.
You
You're
wouldn't.
Right. You're right.
But that's why we're here to talk about it right now so that we can say, hey, maybe this is something that you do need to talk about.
Correct.
Like, what do you need from me? When you come home from work.
And if you subscribe, we can talk about more stuff like this. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true. But seriously, like, I feel like knowing that when you come home from work, you would love to just sit down and talk to me about,
my bike,
your bike, or talk to me about, what you watched the other day on the new whatever, the new features on the iPhone, whatever. It's
right. Yeah.
Now that I know that, okay, my attention is going to be a little different. Not that it wasn't good. It's just that I will be more purposeful.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so I think the same for me. Like I'm emotional about my job because there are kids and parents and coworkers and bosses or whatever that, I may want to just share with you feelings that I have about something that happened, whether it's good or bad. It could be positive. I mean, I still want, it's something about sharing that with you.
Right.
And then you responding to that.
Yeah.
Whether it be to comfort me or to rejoice with me, whatever it is,
Or to not give advice, just to listen and say.
Or just to listen,
right.
And that's usually what I want from you.
Right.
To just listen.
Right.
So I'm sure there are people out there who aren't necessarily getting that part in their relationship.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think there are people out there like that. And I actually think that we need to think of this as part of our marital duty, maybe. I don't know. I think that when you're in a relationship and you really care about the person, there are areas that we don't think are that important.
Right.
That we don't even know we need ourselves, probably.
True.
You know what I'm saying? And I think this conversation you had with your sister brought out something for us that we realize is an actual thing for us.
Yeah.
And I think if we could pay more attention to it, it'd be important. But I think there are a lot of men, my personal opinion, I think that we as men are not, especially older men, we're not necessarily comfortable in tune with emotional things. And we don't necessarily think it's that important. In fact, sometimes we may think we've done our jobs as husbands if we just provide. And it probably stands to reason that we're not quite making it if we're not providing to our spouse emotional availability, if we're not doing it deliberately.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
I think
I've heard a lot of women say, I talk to my husband and he's not listening. You know what I mean? Especially the whole coming home from work and you want to talk to them.
Yeah.
And they don't want to talk.
Right.
And that may not be the right time, but if you know that's what your spouse needs at that time because that's when their emotions are high, then maybe you have to, give it to them and just sit and listen.
Yeah. Bite the bullet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Submit and hear her out. Or
I think that I always say this, stepping outside of your comfort zone is what marriage is all about. Because it's not about you.
Right.
It's not just about you.
Right.
So sometimes you have to step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
That comfort zone. I'm comfortable with just providing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm comfortable with doing that, or I'm comfortable as the wife to, whatever. But there's an emotional side for both parties. It just may look differently, but you have to figure out what it is.
Right.
And a conversation. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, what do you need from me when you come home from work?
Right. Yeah.
You know, what do you need me to do? Do you want me to listen to you when you talk about your job? Do you want to talk about your job, but you haven't because you don't think I care?
Right.
It could be that somebody wants to talk about it. And then they say, she's not going to want it. Yeah, he don't care about that.
Right.
So
That's
I
true.
just keep it in and I am stressed.
Right. Or I find somebody else to talk to and end up creating an emotional connection with them.
True.
One that may be inappropriate.
Very true.
Because I can't get that inside my relationship.
That is true.
Yeah.
And you don't want that.
You don't.
No.
You don't. I'd much rather you talk to me about stuff instead of finding some coworker who you have to talk to about it. Especially a male coworker.
True.
Who's going to be looking all in your eyes and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And stroking your nice hair. What? I'm just saying.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's what I'd much rather have.
Right.
And so for me, even if I'm not necessarily as interested in it at first, I'm going to try to make myself be interested in what it is you're talking about because I'm interested in you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be that the
That's
thing
what it's
itself.
about.
It's really about you.
It is.
I mean, I care about teaching and you know, middle school kids and stuff like that, but I care about you and you care about that stuff. So it interests me in knowing what it is about that you like. Why is it that, what is it about that makes you tick? You know what I'm saying? Why is it that allows you to feel fulfilled? Exactly. Those things, you know, help me to get to know you better. And it's about really getting to know you, not just.
Same with your hobbies.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about bikes real quick.
Okay.
Now it's time for
Word of the Day.
Word of the Day.
Okay, word of the day is
accessible.
Accessible.
Accessible. What does it mean, babe?
Capable of being reached.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Capable of being understood or appreciated.
So we're talking about really being emotionally accessible. So it's accessibility, obviously. Accessible is the word. Able to be reached. But we're talking about emotional accessibility. Sometimes I think we close ourselves off to our spouse emotionally.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good thing. We got to be able to be open to each other in that way.
Well, I think sometimes people actually close themselves emotionally because they are not able to tap into their own emotions. So they don't know how to respond emotionally because they don't even know their emotions. They don't even know. So they may run away from that, afraid to have to, you know, share emotions because they don't know how. But I think, again, we have to step outside of our comfort zone and be willing to just listen, really, and try to understand. So I don't think you have to really tap into your emotions to ask questions.
I agree.
You know what I mean? To ask questions for understanding, to ask questions to show that you actually care and are appreciating their job or their hobby or whatever it is, just their feelings.
So when I sit and listen to you at the end of a day, a long day, and you're telling me things about your job, do you feel like I'm being emotionally accessible at that time?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Well, then I know what I got to do from now on.
Yeah, it makes me feel like you care.
Yeah, I do care.
I know you do.
Okay, I'm glad you do. Anyway, hopefully you do that. Be accessible, emotionally accessible to each other. Until next time.
And physically.
Yeah. Thanks for watching Jess, John, and April.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell to be notified about our next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.